Welcome to another episode of Talking About Records. My name is G.I. Sanders with NTX Vinyl, a small, independent, family-owned record shop just north of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. If you haven't already followed me on YouTube or on social media, please do that. This is a video I'm pretty excited to make, and something I don't think a lot of people consider, especially new collectors. 3 ways to improve your vinyl listening experience. So you go out, you buy a record, you come home, you're ready to listen to it. What does that look like? Do you have the proper setup? Do you have everything in line to make sure your experience of experiencing that album is absolutely perfect? Well, perfect's maybe a stretch, but there are some things you can do as a collector, again, new or old, that I think can really make a huge difference in how you enjoy your records. There is a very popular cartoon that goes around often on social media that says, what do you like best about collecting records? The inconvenience or the expense? And it's very true. Records are completely inconvenient. They're fragile. They weigh a lot. They're certainly expensive. You have to get up to actually flip the record, right? There's nothing more inconvenient in regards to a format of music. But for collectors, for enthusiasts, that's all part of it. The other things that play into this, which are what I'm going to go to, are these 3 things: location, timing, and a partner, right? Some of these seem like no-brainers, and again, if you're a new collector, maybe there's something new here for you. If you're an experienced collector, maybe there's a reminder in here of something maybe you should revisit or do more often, right? So first and foremost, location. Very important. In order to actually enjoy a record, you've got to have a dedicated listening space, a listening room, whatever you want to call it. You need a place for your turntable and for your records and for yourself to actually sit and experience them, right? So vinyl is a tangible thing. It's a physical thing that you actually have to pay attention to. You have to take care of it, and the space or the room where you actually consume that music is very, very important. If it's already inconvenient, right? So if you're making it more inconvenient or not a pleasant experience, well, you're probably not going to get as much enjoyment out of that new album that you just bought. So think about what that looks like. For some people, that's a whole room dedicated to just their records or just their music. For other people, that's just a corner of a room. For other people, that's a desk. Maybe it's just a chair to sit in by the record player. It's different for everybody. And I've actually got a ton of photos I'm going to show right here. I'm going to show you what my listening room looks like, which is what this is. And then I've got a ton of photos I'm going to flip through here of other people who I know, other collectors who have been generous enough to show me their listening rooms. And you'll see it runs the gamut. It's not a cookie cutter thing where, hey, I've got to go spend a bunch of money. I've got to go get certain types of chairs, furniture, equipment, all these types of things. Everybody's situation is different. What I'm saying is make it comfortable. Make it a place where you actually want to sit and enjoy this and experience it and devote your attention to it. If it's, again, inconvenient, if it's in the background, if it's not something that is easily accessible, whether you have a permanent turntable that doesn't move, or maybe you've got a portable player that you have to pull out to listen to your records, like, just think about the space, think about the room you're in and how you can rearrange it and position it to make your vinyl listening experience absolutely the most enjoyable experience possible. So I can't stress that enough. Again, looking through some of these examples, you can see it runs the gamut from people who have just started out their collection to people who have thousands of records and entire rooms in their homes dedicated to it, right? And so it doesn't happen overnight. Like what you're looking at here is my collection, one wall of my collection in the background. It's taken 25 years to accumulate this, So if you're just getting started out, or maybe you've just been at this a few years, it's gonna take time. Not only as far as the quality, but also the quantity of the records. And so I think location is critical, and I don't think it can be overstated. So that's definitely number 1 on my list. I think the second thing that I think can really improve your experience of listening to vinyl records is timing. So the easiest analogy I can make here is think about how you typically watch a movie, right? Whether you're going to the movie theater or whether you're just planning to sit down and browse through Netflix or Hulu or whatever it is and choose a movie, it's usually a conscious decision. You're usually like, hey, you want to watch a movie tonight? Or I think I might go over to the theater and see what's playing, or you'll look it up and go find the time. It's a dedicated thing where you're saying, hey, I'm going to dedicate this time, this 1, 2, 3 hours, whatever it may be, to go see this movie. Well, think about records in the exact same way. It's meant to be an experience. The artist has created this album. They have poured their blood, sweat, and tears and money into creating this and delivering it to you. And you should respect that. The same way that you respect a movie that costs millions of dollars to make, right? And so that's very important. If you've got the space, you've got a space you're comfortable in, dedicate the time. Pick a time where it's not only convenient, but where you know you're going to be able to focus and pay some attention to that record and actually consume the record, live with the artwork, flip it over, enjoy it. The physicality of a record, or any physical format for that matter, I think demands your attention. And I think attempting to set aside some time for that can be a really important part of this as well. The number 3 thing, and again, I'll go back to the same analogy, but who are you listening to your records with? Maybe you listen strictly on your own. That's cool. A lot of people maybe prefer that. But like with most things, whether it's music or movies or any form of entertainment, going out to a nice dinner, whatever it may be, a lot of things are better when they are shared with someone who you're friends with, a partner or a spouse, family member, whatever it may be. The ability to share that experience, to share the music with someone, I think can really play into you getting more enjoyment out of your records. So again, going back to the analogy of the movies, I'm sure there are plenty of people who enjoy going to the movies by themselves or enjoy sitting down and enjoying some quiet time and watching a movie on their couch by themselves. That's great. But again, I think a lot of people prefer the opposite. And if they're thinking about going to the theater and catching a new movie or going to sit down and watch a movie, it's, hey, what do you want to go see? You want to go to the movies Friday night? Great. Is there anything you're interested in? It's the same thing. Think about a record in the same way and think about it, hey, maybe I should invite someone over. I've got a new record, should invite them over, and actually we should listen to this together. We could talk about it. They could pick the next record, whatever it may be. That's something that I think will drastically impact your experience with collecting vinyl, because then you're not only consuming it on your own, you're actually sharing your passion for it, and that's very, very important. One extreme case, and if he sees this, he'll know exactly who he is, but I've got a buddy who has taken this to a completely different level. And what I mean by that is he doesn't listen to any of his new records at all until he has someone to listen to them with. And so he buys records from me, and I asked him one time, I said, hey, that record you bought a few weeks ago, what did you think of it? And he said, oh, I haven't listened to it yet. I said, why not? It's been a couple weeks. I assumed you would have had time by now. And he said, well, actually, I don't listen to any new records until someone comes over and then I can experience them with another person. And I said, wait a second, how many records do you have sitting around that you've never listened to? He said, tons, hundreds of records that he's never opened, never listened to, whether they were new or used, because he's waiting for someone to come over to pick from that collection so he can experience that record for the first time with someone who he either loves or someone he respects or someone who he's friends with, whatever it may be. I thought that was an incredible thing. I've never heard of anyone else doing that. So huge props to them, to my buddy who can actually have the willpower to do that. I don't know if I'd have the willpower. I'm too excited to open records when I get them. But that's the type of thing, again, where if you can establish, a process, if you will, of how you listen to things. When you get a new record, where do you put it? When are you going to listen to it? How are you going to display it? These are all the types of things that I think really impact the hobby of collecting records. It's just not as simple as hitting the play button and walking around your house and kind of catching a little bit of it in the background. That's not what this is about, and I think any vinyl enthusiast will tell you that. So if you can zero in on a great location, a great space or a room, a corner, a nice chair, if you can set aside some time to actually absorb a new album and experience it, maybe even with headphones on would be cool. And if you can find someone to share it with, I think that is the icing on the cake. And I think those three things, if you pair them together, can really add to the quality of your listening experience when it comes to vinyl records. I'd love to hear if you've got some other tips. or some other ways that you've improved your listening experience with your vinyl. I think it goes without saying that you go spend a bunch of money on a better system. I think that's, again, kind of a no-brainer. I was trying to think of things that everybody could latch onto and actually change or modify a little bit within their own environment. And I think location and timing and having a partner to listen to are three of those things. So thanks so much for listening. I really appreciate it. Again, my name is GI with NTX Vinyl. If you haven't followed the pages, the channel, please do that. I will be back again soon with another episode of Talking About Records.